Boy, it's a beautiful day today, man. How's everybody doing? You're not going to believe what happened. We were having a production meeting last week, and they said that this morning they were going to send a bus, one of those big, beautiful buses. I can only imagine what it must be like to pick me up so that I get transported safely to the studio. I know you've seen them. Big stars have those buses. I never dreamed. Wait a minute. I think I see a bus coming. Well, it's not exactly what I thought they were talking about. Actually, it's a city bus. Well, it looks nice. It's been washed since it rained, I guess. Hello. Yeah, I got a couple of bucks. No big deal. I get that for you. All right. Excuse me. Sorry. Can I get by? Let me get by, please. Excuse me. How about, can I sit here? Okay. I'm Michael Sean, you know. Yeah. Maybe you've heard of free-range Texan? Yeah? No? Okay. Nice puppy you got there, lady. Oh, it's a pig. I see. That's nice. Not exactly what I was expecting. You going far? Are you? Downtown? Yeah. Excuse me, driver. Does this bus go out yonder? Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, hello, miss. Yes. I'm Michael Sean. Yes. Sean. S-H-A-W-N. Yes, Sean. Okay. Driver, I think this will be my stop right here. Not exactly what I was expecting. But it's episode number 3. 7.
Start the clock.
6.
Stand by, Eddie Bay 1.
5.
Stand by, Sweetie Pie.
4.
Bring studio mics hot.
3.
Stand by, Michael Sean.
2.
Roll music.
1.
Well, howdy, y'all. The Free Range Texan podcast is underway. This here program is a special look at the way life is shaping up for folks in the U.S. of A., seen through the eyes of a born and bred West Texan. Our host is a veteran broadcaster who is known for his campfire visits on radio. Michael Sean is standing by.
Stand by, Michael Sean.
So here he is, our host, a real free-range Texan himself, Michael Sean.
And we're back. Thanks, Sweetie Pie. Free Range Texan. What is this here? It's episode number 3. Podcasting over the wall and around the world. Want to tip my hat to the crystal clear Rio Grande Mariachi Band over there. Yeah, oh, you guys are great, aren't they? We got a lot of good stuff coming up on our podcast. First of all, our Heroes and Heroines file. We have a good interview coming up on that. I think you'll enjoy. We're going to, of course, be opening new territory is what we're doing here. I personally have always enjoyed the concept of cowboy poetry. And we just thought we'd do some. And of course, before we wind up on the podcast, we're going to take another trip to the campfire. Just you and I. I think you'll enjoy that. Free Range Texan Podcast coming up. We're getting ready to roll. Hey, let me explain something to you here. The whole free-range Texan concept has grown from the hearts and minds of Texans who got tired of seeing that we're portrayed all over the world as all being busy arguing about politics and foreign affairs. Believe me, we know they have their place. But our Free Range Texan podcast and freerangetexan.net are glad to share that there are those of us that are glad to share our culture and our friendship in a number of ways. Now, I realize that a lot of our listeners in foreign countries of the world may not have ever had the chance to hear some bona fide cowboy poetry. That's right, Michael Shawn grew up horseback riding and shooting pistols. That alone doesn't make you a cowboy, but it's a good start. And where else but the free-range Texan would you find folks that would be so glad to do some of that cowboy poetry for you? This is one of my favorite. If any of you partners out there stateside know the author of this, give us a shout out on freerangetexan.net, will you? And we'll let everybody know. Now, we'll just say author unknown. So it is with pleasure. We'll do one of Michael Shawn's favorites.
Frustrated, she tore a check from the book, then inquired as to my need. I waited till she finished her signature and then boldly mumbled, "Horse feed." Now, if looks could kill, I was mortally wounded. Therefore, I dared not hesitate. Just picked up my check and gave her a peck and said, "Gotta go, dear. I'm running late." Now, all day, she must have stewed on this, 'cause when I reached home that eve, she set me in a chair, eyed me up square, and said, "Something's gotta leave." "Why, my love, whatever do you mean?" says I, trying to divert her courses. "What I mean is something's gotta go. Me, or better yet, you could get rid of some horses. You got umpteen of those coin-burning critters, and try as I may, I can't understand why so many. The kids need some clothes, groceries are nice, and I'm certain 2 horses are plenty." So that was the problem. At first I was worried, appalled that she might even suggest, but she was a woman, comprehension impaired, so I felt to explain it would be best. "Now I can appreciate your concern, my sweet, but if you'll give me a moment, dear, I'll explain to you a philosophy that has endured for 1,000 years. It's best exemplified by the Indians. Now listen, I ain't talking for my health. Horses are a symbol of honor and by number and status of wealth. Why, back when the Indians roamed these plains in search of the great buffalo, the horse was the only means by which they had to just up and go. And whenever the great warriors rode out from their lodges fully intent upon counting many coups, not only did they take the lives of their enemies, they took their horses too. And in this way, great herds were amassed in the final culmination to be used as tools and tinder in this land we now call civilization. And I'm only trying to perpetuate this legacy, though no one has been killed over my equine pets. And then I thought I detected a bit of a grin as I heard her mumble, "Sweetheart, not yet." I'm only trying to prevent a sad state of affairs where horses become relics for some museum. Matter of fact, I traded for 2 more today. They're sure dandies, hun. You ought to see 'em. I thought I saw a gleam of pride in her eyes as she leaned over and gingerly gave my mustache a pull. And she said, "Paleface, these aren't the days of yore, and you ain't sitting bull." Now, fellers, if you're interested at all, there's a moral to this little tale. You see, if you're looking for some good, young, used-type ponies, I now have some for sale.
Free Range Texan. And what better way to follow some of that real live cowboy poetry there than to tell you that Michael Sean's Campfire is going to be coming up in the latter part of this podcast not long from now. That's right, I have a campfire named after me. Oh my. Hey, we've got our Heroes and Heroines file coming up just moments from now. We got shows in the future about giants and people that believe they existed and are going to show us why. Also, UFOs, Bigfoot, Mothman, Chupacabra. We know about the Chupacabra here in Texas. It's a real deal. That'll be a fun show. Heroes and Heroines, next on the Free Range Texan podcast. Roger Dykes is a friend of mine. Like many of my other friends, there are a few things about Roger that make him unique. Roger has struggled his entire life with cerebral palsy. He's confined to a wheelchair or a bed without the use of his legs or arms or hands. And yet, he thrives. A licensed marriage and family therapist, he's received a master's degree in home economics from Texas Tech. He attended Lubbock Christian University and Texas Tech Law School, and during his lifetime he has owned UB Blake Records Center, and he's been a counselor for Green Lawn Counseling Center, a sociology instructor at a local university, personal consultant for the John Hancock Company, after-dinner speaker, and a popular one at that, public relations specialist. Recently, I went to Roger's home in Texas for a visit. The background noises are the sounds of Roger's home office, complete with Roger's girl Friday, Beth. She's worked for Roger for 30 years. A visit with Roger is always worthwhile. We believe Roger Dykes deserves a slot in our Heroes and Heroines file. I have known you about a jillion years.
Oh, wow.
When we were both young men, I think, when we first met. I knew you when you lived in this home with your parents. They loved you, they cared about you. Did you lose your last parent?
12 years ago, in August of 2005.
So, Roger, you began to explain to these people at your state capitol in Austin about your situation that you're dealing with. And when you did, my jaw dropped.
We had an oncoming announced weather problem called a blizzard. It was predicted. The state will not pay anyone to spend the night here. So I have to negotiate with people to either volunteer to spend time here at night. But on the particular time, the story you're talking about, when the lady left me that morning,
Okay.
there wasn't anybody here that night because they couldn't get in, and there's no provision made in this program to keep people over for bad weather. After 2005, I didn't have parents.
So how old are you?
I'm 67 years old. I have no family here in town. So there's no one to call in terms of coming over and spending the night with me. I am in the house by myself except for the caregivers as they come and go. We had a snowstorm which turned into a blizzard, but it was announced on Sunday that a blizzard was coming. My caregiver, who normally comes in on Sunday, I had a neighbor come and shovel her out so that she could leave.
Leaving you here by yourself.
Leaving me by myself, but expecting the next caregiver to come in. When I'm here by myself, I'm in a wheelchair.
Sure.
I'm in the wheelchair. Well, I will not be left here by myself without being in the wheelchair. If you leave me in bed, I cannot do anything. I cannot cook food. I cannot use the bathroom effectively by myself. So therefore, I'm limited by needing caregivers here a lot. On this particular day, we had a problem. Someone asked me, with regard to this blizzard, they asked me, so, well, did you have any bottled water there? I said, well, no, but if I had, I could not have gotten the lid off the bottle anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered whether I had bottled water. I wouldn't have been able to get a drink. As long as there's liquid in that container with the straw in it, I'm fine.
Okay.
But at some point, the liquid runs out. Also, when you think you may be left an extensive amount of time by yourself, you're very careful what you eat and drink due to bathrooming concerns. My caregiver left expecting other caregivers to come. Within an hour and a half of her leaving, I had 3 phone calls, each one from a different caregiver, telling me they would not be able to come in due to the fact they were snowed in, but they assumed there was someone here. They didn't know I was by myself when they called in. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I knew that whatever it was, they weren't going to be here anyway. So I simply thanked them and told them we'd see them the next day or whatever. I began calculating immediately what I was going to be able to do, what I was not going to be able to do, and how long it was going to be before I would have any help. My caregiver left at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. The next caregiver was able to get in the door at 8:30 the following day, which was Tuesday. So I was here from 9 o'clock a.m. Monday morning till 8:30 Tuesday morning.
Which was 23 and a half hours.
23 and a half hours.
Right.
Realizing that was the reality I was facing, I began to calculate, what am I going to do? What am I not going to do? How am I going to sustain myself? I've never done this before. I don't have any choice, so I'm going to have to figure it out. Well, the first thing you immediately do if you're in this condition, is you realize you're not going to eat or drink anything unless you have to. And could have been worse had something bad happened.
Okay, what if the home catches on fire?
I would become a crispy critter. Because, I can get out of the house probably. Fire would be a greater incentive for me to get out of the house.
Of course, in a situation like that, you could get out of the house into a blizzard. What if you were here by yourself and your home began to be burglarized? What happens then?
Call 911, but if they do not get here before the burglar gets in, I'm going to be facing a burglar, having a wonderful discussion about what we're going to do. I will negotiate with them at that point.
So, in other words, that too is a danger.
Absolutely. I am totally vulnerable here in the house as far as what could be done to me. But I choose not to live in fear of that, because if I do, then I don't do anything. I have to accept the reality that I'm by myself, that if something happens, it happens. I'll work with it as it comes. But I'm not going to sit in total fear. But the assumption, of course, is made that there is family available. That's not what they envision. They envision your mother and dad coming in and taking care of you when you're sick, leaving the caregivers out of it.
But that's not your reality.
But that's not reality, because all of these younger people will end up, more than likely, in the condition and in the situation I'm in, because their families will also pass away.
Whether they say it out loud or not, in the back of their minds are thinking, that guy needs to be in a home. He needs to be in a care facility, and like it or not, that needs to be the rest of his life.
The state of Texas, their point of view is that they want to keep me out of the nursing home or out of the facilities for as long as they can, because it costs more. It's 24-hour-a-day medical care, which I do not need that. I need someone here, but I do not need a doctor, nurse, or medically trained individual. So they want to keep me here because it's cheaper. It's a money thing for them. For me, it's this. I have a life that is fairly functional. I do a number of different things. I teach Bible classes each week. I am involved in counseling. I'm involved in helping other people in different facets. When you put me from this location into a nursing home, I use computers, I use a TiVo, I use television, I do audio, videos. I'm busy.
And we want to say that you do that without the use of your hands, primarily.
Minimal use.
Yeah.
Minimal use of hands.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I'm able to do all this. They want me to do these things. When you move into the nursing home facility, I would not be able to function at the level that I'm able to function now. My level of function physically is not that high anyway. So if you wanted to put me there, we'll take that away from me, and I will end up on the sun porch watching I Love Lucy.
Somebody on that telephone call that I witnessed the other day finally got around to asking you, so, Roger Dykes, what would you have us do? What's the answer?
We're not all crooks out here. We're not all trying to beat the system. I'm trying to make the system work.
To be more clear about that, I understand that one of the ways you have worked to overcome your situation, if you need care overnight, if you should need the bathroom.
It does not work well to itemize tasks out and give hours for each task, and not let multitasking be considered.
There's no place on the paperwork for you to say, we had someone come in during this period of time. We knew we were going to be isolated. As we're speaking to Roger right now, his wheelchair is rolled up to his desk in his office, and you are more than capable of making good decisions. What would you say to people that are hearing this interview right now, and in their minds, they're thinking, look, he sounds like a great guy. We wish we could help him. But frankly, Roger, we're tapped out. Our own families, our own kids, and the electric bill keeps going up, and the rent keeps going up, and groceries keep going up, and taxes continue to go up. what would you say to those people that are not suggesting that your needs are not real, but in fact are concerned that they're at their limit? They want Roger and people like Roger to be taken care of. They don't want you in danger. They want you to be able to live and be a part of your community. But they're having trouble finding where to draw the line between what they're able to produce in the form of tax dollars and what you need. Do you have any advice for those people?
Well, I want to recommend two things. Number one, I appreciate their prayers. That will be helpful, and that doesn't cost anything. Second, I'm not asking them to give me money or to give more money anywhere. What we need is a redistribution of the money that is in the state coffers now. That is done when legislators are advised and by their constituency as to how they would like to see those dollars redistributed. So what I would like for them to do is write their congressman, and I don't care if they're not in Texas, that doesn't matter. And I suspect that my problem is seen across the nation. Also, there is federal money that is included in some of these programs. If there are more federal dollars, if they can be redistributed to help in these kinds of situations, then that is money that is also made available. That becomes your senators and congressmen from your districts that go to Washington. So, of course, in Texas, writing Austin would be wonderful because that's where I'm speaking from. The same problems exist across the United States. But ultimately, it's something that costs nothing. It's your concern and your prayers.
If you'd like more information about today's Heroes and Heroines file and the story of Roger Dykes, or if you'd like to contact Roger directly, go to our website at freerangetexan.net. That's freerangetexan.net. Have you tried to hire vocal talent from a studio capable of delivering the polished professional sound for corporate presentations, commercials, or even phone answering systems? It can be a little bit pricey. A-Team PR is probably who you're looking for. Producing broadcast quality products with talented vocal artists that produce in a creative digital environment. Located in Texas, not a union shop. What that means is less overhead with the production talent and quality that you're looking for. Thinking about producing your own radio syndicated show or podcast? Let A-Team PR provide the production and post-edit support that you may need. Now, you can take my word for it because, after all, among other things, A-Team PR produces this podcast. Or see for yourself. Find out more about A-Team PR on our website at freerangetexan.net. Oh yes, and tell them Michael sent you. Hi, this is Michael Shawn. Welcome to the Campfire. Thanks, Melissa Epperson, for sharing this great story. Christian takes his job seriously. He was brought on as an apprentice to the boss, Mr. Toby. He'd been trying hard to learn all that he could from Mr. Toby. Christian hoped that he would be next in line once Mr. Toby retired. It wasn't hard work, but it did require Christian to stay on his toes at all times. But he would nap from time to time while the boss was on duty. He and his 2 sisters came to live with Mr. Toby and his family. Mr. Toby and his family did their best to take care of him and his sisters. Mr. Toby began teaching Christian the things that he needed to know about his job. Christian worked hard. He didn't want to let the family down. There were days that were easier than others, but overall, Christian became more confident in his work. Christian needed less and less supervision, and Mr. Toby took more and more naps. Then, one day, it happened unexpectedly. A threat, a loud and unyielding monster, for lack of a better word. Christian's mom had once told him about things that might try to hurt him, but she didn't mention anything like this. Mr. Toby seemed unfazed. Additionally, Mr. Toby had never mentioned what to do in this particular situation. The monster approached. There were frightening sounds, closer and closer, as the monster grabbed its prey. The noise intensified as it tore into its catch, growling as it did. To say the least, Christian was frightened. What about Mr. Toby and his family? He had to protect them. Christian swallowed his fear and charged at the beast, yelling to distract it. Suddenly, it came to an abrupt halt right in front of him. His heart was pounding. This is it. The monster grabbed for its prey. Loudly it snarled as it attacked again and again. Christian knew this may be the last day on the job. He would give his all to protect Mr. Toby and his family. Then suddenly the monster began to move as unaware of Christian's presence. It was no longer coming toward him. Deep rumbles came from the bowels of the monster as it moved on down the way. Christian moved to keep himself between it and Mr. Toby, who was apparently still sleeping, unfazed by the chaos. Christian thought his heart would beat out of his chest. Slowly, the monster continued to move away, searching for more to eat. Stay away from my family, you beast. Christian gave one more threat as the trash truck moved on down the alley. Mr. Toby lazily opened one eye and said, "Good job, Christian. Just wait until Friday." I'm Michael Shawn. Always room for a good dog at the campfire. Adios, my friends.
Y'all been listening to the Free Range Texan podcast. If you'd like more information about our show or where to find the products we talked about on Free Range Texan, visit our website at freerangetexan.net. That's freerangetexan.net. Free Range Texan is produced out yonder at A-Team PR Studios. Speaking for Michael Shawn and the rest of our crew, this is Sweetie Pie, and we'll see you next time on the Free Range Texan podcast.